So now that the 2022-23 season has officially come to an end for all EFL clubs and the curtain is slowly closing for the timescale really where you can do videos on it for the 22-23 campaign, in today's video we are going to be going through every League 2 club and I'll be giving you guys, in my opinion, who I think their club's player of the year, player of the season should be for the campaign that has just gone by. We'll only give it another 2 weeks really of content from 22-23 before we start focusing really on the content for the upcoming season. I'm really looking forward to it, really looking forward to Bradford City, finally making a signing and all that sort of stuff. I think by this time last season we were about 5 or 6 signings down, or it felt that way, whereas now we're still yet to make a signing, just a one contract extension. But like what I mentioned, in today's video we're going to be going through every League 2 clubs at player of the year, in my opinion. Some clubs are easier to pick than others. Some clubs that have really struggled this season, I've probably just gone with their top goal and assist contributor, to be honest with you, because I don't know too much about a team that have failed really miserably, to be honest with you. But make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could join it 70 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We are on the road 7,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already, with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so and it does massively help out. Drop a comment in as well down in the comment section down below. Let me know which team you support and who do you think your club's player of the season should have been for the campaign just gone. Let's waste no further time and get straight into it. So normally when I do these style of videos we go through in alphabetical order. In today's video though we are going to be going through in a completely random order, so you can't just skip to what your club is. Starting out then with Newport County, I have gone with Omar Bogle. In the end, Newport have really underachieved this season, but Bogle still managed to score 17 league goals and pop up with 2 assists. He had a really good end to the campaign, and I think overall he's had a few moves recently which haven't really worked out for him, but now 30 years of age, he seems to have found a place where he's back scoring goals and all that sort of stuff. Like what I mentioned, 17 league goals for him this season. He's played all 46 matches, managing 40 starts. I think he has had a very good campaign. So in my opinion, Newport County's player of the season for the 22-23 season should be Omar Bogle. Next up then is Northampton Town, and obviously it is Sam Hoskins. Now don't get me wrong, they've had some very good players this season, but Sam Hoskins has been the absolute pinnacle of that. Yes, he is now 30 years of age, but he has been a big factor of why they've gone on to achieve automatic promotion this season. Played 41 out of the 46 matches, starting 40 of them, 22 goals and 7 assists. I think he's very impressive, averages a goal every 163 minutes. Very versatile, can play right wing, left wing, even do a job at right back if you really need him to, but 29 goal contributions is a very good season nonetheless, and obviously scored the goal in the end which did see the Cobblers promoting, and he's had a very good spell overall at Northampton Town, but this season I think he is comfortably their player of the season. Next up then is AFC Wimbledon. Now don't get me wrong, they've had an absolutely shocking campaign and they've had some really poor footballers this season. I was going to go with, is it El Hamadi or Al Hamadi? I'm not really too sure. Obviously they signed in January, but I've tried to go with players who have been there for the majority of the campaign. We'll come on to a bit more of that in detail when we get to the likes of Hartlepool and Gillingham, etc. But for me personally, I think AFC Wimbledon's player of the season should be Ethan Chislett. Played 44 out of the 46 matches, starting 42 of them. Scored 9 goals and chipped in with 3 assists. 12 goal contributions for a team that have really struggled this season. I don't think that's the end of the world, to be honest with you. His defensive stats are pretty decent as well. 1 interception per game, 2 tackles per game as well. They haven't had many shining stars in their team this season, but for me personally, I think at 23 years of age, out of a deal in the summer as well, potentially could be one that Bradford City maybe potentially look at, but I think he has been their best player this season, and while they have had a bad season, I think he still has been their best. Next up then is Walsall FC, and again very similar to AFC Wimbledon, really underachieved this campaign, but I've gone with Isaac Hutchinson. The 23-year-old has played 44 out of 46 matches this season, starting 40 of them, scored 7 goals and chipped in with 6 assists, which I think is fairly respectable numbers to be fair. He's fairly versatile, can play as a 6, 8 or as a 10, could even do a job on the wing if you really need him to, and if you're absolutely desperate, he could probably even play at wing back in my opinion. But I think he has had a decent solidish season, 13 goal contributions from 40 starts is not the end of the world, to be fair. Did struggle towards the end of the campaign, just to 2 goals in his last 10 matches, but overall I thought it was a pretty solid season from Isaac Hutchinson. I think he also signed a new long-term contract with the football club. He's with them now until 2025, so a good bit of business there from Walsall, and in my opinion he has been their best player this season. Next up then is Gillingham FC, and like what I mentioned earlier, this was really hard because up until Christmas they were absolutely terrible, but then post-Christmas they brought in a load of players in January and they had a very good end to the campaign. campaign. But in the end, like what I mentioned earlier, I wanted to be picking players who've been there throughout the whole season. I've gone with Alex McDonald. Now, he is 33 years of age, and it was also confirmed that either yesterday or the day before that he's left Gillingham now, and he's joined Stevenage on a permanent basis, which I thought was a really, really interesting move. I actually thought overall he didn't have a great campaign last year, so to see him get that step up into League One, certainly it did surprise me. I think, in my opinion, Stevenage have got to be one of the favourites for relegation next season back into League Two. But 2 goals and 6 assists, 8 goal contributions is not the end of the world. You know, Tom Nichols and Tim Dieng are 2 players who have had really good ends to the campaign, to be fair, since coming in January. But as if I'm picking a player who's been there throughout the whole season, which is what it is, a player of the season, I think Alex McDonald has been the best of the bunch. I could have gone with their goalkeeper. I think he was originally on loan from Crawley, then they made it permanent in January. I want to say, was it Glyn Morris, something like that. I think he's had a pretty decent season, but overall I'm going to give it to Alex McDonald. But if I'm picking a player from the whole season, it was a pretty difficult one, to be honest with you. Next up then is Stevenage FC, and again, this one was really hard because they've not had one individual standout player this season. They've just, as a whole, collective, been really solid, and I've gone with Jamie Reid in the end. This season has scored 10 goals and chipped in with 6 assists. I believe he was their highest goal contributor. 16 goal contributions from 25 starts, I think he's very good. 45 matches played in total. You know, Stevenage like to rotate their team and all that sort of stuff. Had a very, very good end to the campaign, and I was impressed with what I saw throughout the whole season, really, from Jamie Reid there, which constantly chopping and changing with their striking options. You know, they had Jordan Roberts, Josh March. They also had Luke Norris as well, who scored a decent amount of goals. But in my opinion, I think Stevenage's best player this season was Jamie Reid. Next up then is Barrow AFC, and I have gone with 27-year-old Ben Whitfield. This season for the Bluebirds, he played 45 matches, starting 39 of them, scored 5 goals and chipped in with 12 assists, 17 goal contributions. I think he's a very good return for a team like Barrow. With all due respect, they had a shocking end to the campaign. Since that match where they beat Crawley 4-0, they really did struggle towards the end of the campaign, just picking up the 1 point for their remaining couple of matches. They had a great start to the season, and they just fell off in the end, and maybe they might look to go one better next season under Pete Wild, but I think if Whitfield can maintain his form that he had from the start of the season throughout the whole campaign, that'll be very key for them if they are to achieve the playoffs next season. I thought it was a very, very good season from him. 17 goal contributions is very good, and in my opinion, he was Barrow's player of the season for this campaign. Next up then is relegated side Hartlepool United, and in the end, I've gone with Josh Ummera. I could have gone with Dan Kemp, but obviously he only joined in January on loan from MK Dons. He had a brilliant end to the season. I think he got, 9 or 10 goals, which I think is fantastic for a side in just half a season, who eventually gone down. I think he had a very good end to the campaign, but like what I've said earlier, I'm picking players who've been there throughout the whole season, and I've gone with Josh Ummera. 41 appearances for him this season, 38 starts, 12 goals and 2 assists, 14 goal contributions in a side who have ultimately gone on to get relegated. I do think it's not something to be sniffed at whatsoever. Overall, he's again being one of their few shining stars in a really, really poor side, and like what I say, I probably would have gone Dan Kemp if he would have been there all season, but in the end I'm going to go with Josh Ummera. Next up then is a side who almost got relegated at Crawley Town. In the end I've gone with Dom Telford. They had some really, really poor performers this season. Obviously they brought Telford in after him claiming the Golden Boot in the previous season with Newport County on a long-term contract on high wages with some crazy bonuses in his contract. Only started the 35 matches this season, playing 43 in total. In the end though, returned with 12 goals and 3 assists. I don't think 15 goal contributions in 35 starts for a team who have ultimately nearly been relegated, and I think, in my opinion, still favourites to go down next season. I still think that's a pretty decent return, to be fair. You know, if it wasn't for him, they would have been dead and buried, to be honest with you. I think he has ultimately not single-handedly kept them up, because they had some okay players around him, but ultimately he has been their best player this season, and in my opinion deserves to have been their player of the year. After that then, we move to Stockport County. In the end, I have gone with Kyle Wotton. I think if he would have been fit throughout the playoffs, I do think Stockport would have gone on to be promoted into League One. I think it was a big miss for them at the end of the campaign, but I've gone with him as my Stockport County player of the year. Came in from Notts County. No one really knew how he was going to get on, because he struggled so far throughout his career in the AFL. Did well in the National League though the previous season, for Notts County. This season for Stockport though, he played 42 matches, starting 40 of them, scored 14 goals and chipped in with 4 assists, 18 goal contributions in 40 starts is a very, very good return in my opinion. Averaged a goal every 254 minutes, was key to Stockport County's success this season. If he can keep himself fit for the whole of next campaign, I certainly think they can challenge, potentially even go one more into that automatic promotion place. But in my opinion, Kyle Wotton should be Stockport County's 22-23 player of the season. Next up then is Grimsby Town. I could have gone with Gavan Houlihan. In the end though, I have gone with Harry Clifton. I'm pretty sure he came through through their academy. I might be wrong there. You'll have to let me know down in the comment section down below. This season, though, played 40 matches, scored 7 goals and chipped in with 2 assists. 9 goal contributions is pretty steady, in my opinion, in the league. I think he scored a couple in the cup as well. Pretty impressed with what I've seen from him this season. Grimsby have had a steady first season back in the Football League. I think they'll be looking to push on now next season, and if they are to do that, I think Harry Clifton needs to have another pretty solid season. At 24 years of age, still plenty of time for him to develop, but I think he has been their player of the season. Next up then is Doncaster Rovers. Now, while overall they've had an absolutely terrible campaign and it really did not work out under Gary McSheffrey and then Danny Schofield, in the end I have gone with George Miller. At 24 years of age, this season he's played 34 matches, starting 32 of them, and chipped in with 11 goals and 5 assists. I think 16 goal contributions in 32 starts. He's been the best of a really, really bad bunch. Average a goal every 260 minutes. Yes, he's missed a lot of big chances. According to SofaScore, he's missed 13 big chances this season, but I still think 16 goal contributions is a steady return. He's created 5 big chances himself, averages 0.9 key passes per game. Like what I say, he's been the best of a bad bunch, really, and I'm never really going to pick someone like Jonathan Mitchell or some of the other terrible players that they've had, like Roshan Williams at the end of the day. So, in my opinion, I think George Miller deserves to be their player of the season. Next up then is my team at Bradford City, and it could only be one man. Andy Cook is who I have obviously gone with. 28 goals in 38 starts, averaging a goal every 120 minutes. That man has broke so many records this season. 23% goal conversion rate, 8 assists in there as well. He's been an absolute fire this season and thoroughly deserves to be our player of the year. Should have been the League 2 player of the year, in my opinion. I'll keep going on about that until, well, I mean, forever really. He's created 11 big chances himself, averages 0.9 key passes per game. He's been absolutely outstanding for us this season. Very impressive when defending set pieces as well. 1.6 clearances per game. Recently signed a new 3-year contract as well with the football club, which I'm absolutely buzzing with, and in my opinion thoroughly deserves to be our player of the season. Moving on then to another Yorkshire club, I have gone with Luke Armstrong as Harrogate Town's player of the season. Played all 46 matches, actually started all 46, as he played every minute for them this season, because according to SofaScore he averages 90 minutes per game, so he might have actually played every minute for them this season. I think if somebody can get Luke Armstrong in, it's not going to be cheap, you know, it is going to cost you a little bit of money. Still got 2 years left on his contract, but 16 goals and 6 assists in that Harrogate side, I think he's very, very good in my opinion. 22 goal contributions in what has ultimately been a really poor Harrogate side. You know, they needed to replace the goals of obviously a previous loanee that they've had who hopefully will never play football ever again. I'm sure you all know who I'm referring to there, but 22 goal contributions I think is very, very impressive in my opinion. Like what I say, a struggling Harrogate side throughout this season, he has been a big factor as to why they've stayed up once again. Yes, he missed 13 big chances, and yes, he only has a 15% goal conversion rate, but at the end of the day, 22 goal contributions is not something to be sniffed at, and he has comfortably been their best player this season in my opinion. Next up then was Tranmere Rovers. This was a really, really hard one because they've been terrible this season. They've had really, really underperformed under Mickey Mellon. Obviously, he did eventually get the sack. In the end though, I've gone with 24-year-old Josh Hawkes. This season for Tranmere, played 44 matches, starting 40 of them. 10 goals and 4 assists was their best return from any player this season. Kane Hemmings potentially, but in the end, I've gone with Josh Hawkes. I think he will be a little bit better next season if they play a bit more attacking football. I think they could get even more out of Josh Hawkes. Like I say, it was a really hard pick for Tranmere Rovers because ultimately they have massively underachieved this season. In the end though, I have gone with Josh Hawkes. Next up then was Swindon Town. Pretty easy one for me. I've gone with Johnny Williams. I could have gone Romeo Hutton, but in the end I have gone with the bald Welshman. Started 35 matches this season for Swindon, chipped in with 10 goals and 2 assists, 12 goal contributions. He's not the end of the world, obviously. He has been released by Swindon Town. He is currently a free agent. I'll be interested to see where he does move on to. Does he go to League 1? Does he stay in League 2? I'll be interested to know because he can play as a 6. Well, maybe not a 6, but he can play as a number 8 or as a number 10. Could even do a job on the left wing. If he can keep himself fit throughout the whole season, I think he's comfortably a 15 goal contributions sort of midfielder in this league, and I think he has ultimately been their best player this season, and I do think Johnny Williams does deserve that title. Next up then is the team who finished bottom of the league, Rochdale AFC. In the end, I have gone with now Brentford B team player Ethan Brierley. He has recently left the club for an undisclosed fee. Yes, he is only 19 years of age, but to be fair, he only played 25 matches this season, only starting 18, but he was comfortably their best player this season. 2 goals and 6 assists, 8 goal contributions. Like I say, I wanted to pick someone who's been there throughout the whole season, and I could have gone with Danny Lloyd, to be fair. In the end, though, I have gone with Ethan Braley, and in my opinion, he does deserve to be their best player of the season. From one end of the table to the other, Leyton Orient's best player this season, in my opinion, was Idris El Mazouni. On loan from Ipswich Town, I think he had a very, very solid campaign, in my opinion, was their best player. I think if you don't have El Mazouni, I don't think them winning the league was as comfortable. I've been a big fan of his work this season. Yes, they've had some absolutely unbelievable players this season. Paul Smythe, Theo Archibald when he's been fit, Lawrence Vigouroux in goal, absolutely fantastic. George Moncur as well, another player that I've not mentioned, along with many, many more. In my opinion, though, El Mazouni has been the best of all of them players. 3 goals and 2 assists for him this season, 1.7 interceptions per game, 2.9 tackles per game, 1.3 clearances per game as well. He has a 69% successful dribble rate and he wins 53% of his total duels. I think he's been absolutely outstanding. With Ipswich now being in the Championship, I do think Leyton Orient have a good chance of getting him back next season as well on loan, and in my opinion, he was their best player this season. Moving on then to Colchester United, I was close to going with Noah Chilvers. In the end, though, I have gone with the player I think actually won the Young Player of the Year. I've gone with Junior Shemayadu. I might have pronounced that wrong. I do apologise. Correct me down in the comment section down below. At just 19 years of age, I think he has had a brilliant season. I think he will get his move this summer to a League One or maybe even a Championship club. Even if he goes to a Championship club and then he stays with Colchester on loan for the upcoming campaign. You know, 5 goals and 2 assists is a pretty good return from a right back or right wing back. Played the 41 matches this season, starting 38. If you're starting 38 matches at 19 years of age, yes, Colchester struggled for a large majority of the season, but if you're not scoring, if you're playing that many matches for a team at just 19 years of age in League 2, you're clearly more than good enough, and in my opinion, deserves to be their best player of the season. Moving on then to Mansfield Town, I have gone with Elliot Hewitt, 29 years of age now. Recently, I think signed a new long-term contract with the football club, and unfortunately, I think he did also do his ACL, so he's going to be out until, I think, actually next calendar year, which is a real shame for them, a massive blow, because he's been brilliant for them this season. I was close to going with Lucas Akins, but I think with how versatile he is, can play centre-back, right wing back, played 40 matches this season, starting 34 of them, 1 goal and 6 assists, I think was a pretty decent return. To be fair, he's been pretty solid for the Stags this season, kept 11 clean sheets, 1.3 interceptions per game, 1.3 tackles per game, 2.3 clearances per game as well. I think he has had a very good campaign for Nigel Clough's side, and in my opinion, deserves to be their player of the season. Moving on then into Crewe Alexandra, I have gone with hopefully a future Bradford City player. I have gone with Daniel Adjei, 26 years of age now, recently out of a contract with the football club. Their manager said it's unrealistic for him to sign a new deal with the club, which I think is only positive news for a Bradford City fan. Played all 46 matches this season, started all 46 as well. In a Crewe side that have really struggled this season, he scored 16 goals and chipped in with 5 assists. Can play striker, right wing, or even left wing as well. Averaged a goal every 255 minutes. He averages 2.3 shots per game with a 15% goal conversion percentage. I think he's had a very, very good season, and in my opinion, deserves to be Crewe Alexandra's player of the year. Next up then is Carlisle United. There was a few contenders, to be fair, but I think it would be very rude to pick anyone other than Owen Moxon. Played every match for them this season, scored 6 goals and chipped in with 16 assists. Was very impressive in the playoffs as well. A very, very good campaign from him. I think he was only playing part-time football in Scotland last year, but this season he's had a very, very good campaign with the Blues. Averages 1.3 interceptions per game, 3.5 tackles per game, 1.3 clearances per game as well. He wins 53% of his total duels. I think he's been very good for Carlisle this season, a big factor as to why they have gone on and achieved promotion in the end, and in my opinion deserves to be their player of the year. Moving on then to Salford City, I have gone with former Bradford City central midfielder Elliot Watt. Obviously joined the club in the summer from Bradford City, played all 46 matches for them this season, no goals but 16 assists, a lot of them coming from set pieces, created a further 14 big chances as well, averages 2.7 key passes per game with a 77% passing accuracy, 1.1 interceptions per game, 2.0 tackles per game, and 1.0 clearances per game as well. He's had a very good season in my opinion with Salford, a big factor as to why they ended up making into the playoffs, and obviously assisted the first goal as well for Matt Smith in the playoffs, and had a very good campaign overall. Just 23 years of age, I think he's certainly one that could make it into the Championship one day, and in my opinion deserves to be Salford City's player of the year. And the final team on here is Sutton United. I have gone with now Notts County midfielder, Will Randall. think Sutton are in a lot of trouble next season. They've lost a lot of their better players, and this season for me, I think Will Randall has had a very good campaign. 26 years of age, has played 36 out of the 46 matches, starting 34 of them this season. Scored 6 goals and chipped in with 2 assists, averages 1.3 key passes per game, created a further 3 big chances as well. He's had a very good season with Sutton, who ultimately really fell off towards the end of the campaign. He'll be looking to now really kick his career on, and in my opinion, I think he could do a very good job at Notts County. They needed to strengthen going into this season. I do think Will Randall is a smart piece of business. I am going to leave it there though for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If we could try and hit 70 likes, as I said at the start of today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We are now on the road 7,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already, with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so and it does massively help out. Drop a comment in as well down in the comment section down below. Let me know which League 2 club that you support and who do you think has been your player of this season. Have I got any right? Have I got any wrong? Let me know if you disagree down below. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all Monday for another video. Peace.